You may be wondering why I'm sitting here dazed and confused and bug-eyed. Well, it's just because I went through this resume. It's a resume of somebody that is a professional engineer type applicant who is looking to make a job change. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, holy Moses, does this guy need some help? So what I want to talk about are at least some of the things you got to remember when you put together a resume so that you're in the best possible position to get an interview and ultimately get hired. You don't want to do this. You want to do what I'm going to suggest. So there are 7 points. And as I was going through this resume, I wrote them down. And when Robert saw me write these down, he thought to himself, you know what? These might be great things to share with people. So remember when you put together a resume, first of all, the 20-second rule. When an employer gets a resume, when I get a resume and I hire people, after about 20 seconds, I start drifting off. Most people do. So you want to put together a resume that's going to grab somebody's attention and not get them all confused and bewildered like I was. So there's 8 things I wrote down about this resume that may help you. Point number 1, being too specific on your objective. Sometimes I've seen candidates be so specific on what their objective is that it knocks them out of consideration for anything else. You know, I'm looking for a position in the oil and gas industry. I mean, if you are, great, wonderful. But then don't send that resume to a company that makes widgets or is a steel fabricator. Your objective should be general enough that a person understands that I'm looking for an opportunity to develop my career, in management, to further educate myself, whatever. Number 2, not being consistent with the format and layout. When I looked at this resume, there was one format here, one layout there. I mean, I need help. Can't do that. You got to be consistent. You know, you don't write a novel talking about World War II and then all of a sudden switch to the Vietnam War. You got to be consistent. And how it's laid out is very, very important. Number 3, and I'm so sick and tired of talking about this, but it's ridiculous, is spelling errors and grammar errors. Now, I wish I could tell you I'm making this up, but on this resume right here that I'm looking at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 grammar/spelling mistakes. That doesn't bode well when you send this to people. Employers like people that pay attention to details in a lot of cases, and this reeks of not paying attention to details. Next, number 4, being way too technical. Using jargon that not everybody's going to understand. You got to remember who's going to get their hands on your resume. In a lot of cases, it's going to be somebody in HR. And if you're talking about gigawatts and kilowatts and megabytes and yada yada, they're not going to know what the heck you're even talking about. You got to use jargon and terminology that is easy for people to follow and to understand. I've seen way too many resumes, especially in the technical fields, get just way, way too technical. Okay? Number 5, and this is another thing that was on this resume, too much information, or I call the infamous bug-eye effect, where you look at a resume and you go, you know what it's like? It's like going to a smorgasbord and somebody pound all this food on your plate and you're saying to yourself, how can I possibly eat all this stuff? The same holds true with resumes. You can't do that. You got to make sure that the resume isn't going to cause somebody to have a headache or the bug-eyed effect and just throw it away because this smells of BS. I'm sorry to say it, but that's how people think. Number 6, telling too much of what you've done and not about what you've accomplished. You got to mix in on a good resume accomplishments, achievements. I did this resulting in that. You can't go overboard because then people will think you're just making this stuff up, but you got to throw in a few little tidbits here and there to show people that you are somebody that can accomplish things. Heck, I'm losing track here myself. Number 7, not showing your resume to someone that will give you honest feedback. A lot of people go, hey, let me give this to my friend here. What do you think about this resume? Oh, it looks wonderful. You know, it's like your wife asking you, do I look fat? And, oh, yeah, you look wonderful. People will say, oh, yeah, this resume is really great. But they don't really give you honest feedback. The thing that you have to do is make sure somebody gets your resume and looks at it who's going to tell you the truth, whether or not it's too much information, not enough information, the bug-eyed effect, whatever you want to call it. But please make sure that you have somebody look at it, and if you have one person look at it, show 2 people, show 3 people. Get as much feedback as possible, especially from people whose opinion you respect. And number 8, the last point is the 2-page effect. Or, I'm sorry, 2-page rule. And that is basically where you don't have your resume exceed more than 2 pages, because it's just going to be way too much information. You know, I always say that a resume is basically an advertisement of you. And it's like any advertisement you see in the newspaper, on TV, you know, you can't possibly cover every single point about what this car is all about or what this product is all about. You can only hit the highlights, the things that are going to pique people's interest. And the same holds true with a resume. All right? Now, hope these pointers help you. What we're going to be doing probably within the next couple of weeks is actually go through a resume where I can point out these things to you, and it may help you in making your resume much more effective. And as always, for more information about what the heck we do down here and how we can help you in your job search, go to gloversearch.com. It's not bad, if I must say so.